So this is already factored, but notice that the pi is in the b value, so that what ends up happening is that we end up getting the pi out of our scaling. So again, I want my amplitude, my vertical shift, my horizontal shift, and my period is going to be 2 pi divided by 4. So my period ends up being 8. So when I draw on this graph, I'm going to put my x-axis here, my horizontal shift of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so there's my start, my end. Halfway between 1 and 9 is 5, so 5 is right there. Okay, halfway between 1 and 5 is going to be 3, and notice that each quadrant is going to be 2 units. Okay, so it goes 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. My vertical shift is +1. I have to make sure that I can accommodate my amplitude of 3. Okay, so I'm going to go down to -2. I'm going to go up to +4. It's a sine graph, so I start in the middle, go to the max, back to the middle, down to my min, back to my middle, and sketch in my 4 quadrants. Okay, there we go. Okay, so the other types of graphs, the things that you have to do is start with coordinates and come up with a equation for this. So I'm just going to sketch a graph of this. So pi over 3, let's say pi over 3 is there. It's going to be a min at 5, and at pi somewhere around here, we got a max. Those are my 2 quadrants. Okay, so I've got my middle point there. Okay, I'll just sketch that out a little bit better. Okay, so there's half my graph. So again, I still need my amplitude. Okay, the amplitude is going to be half the distance between the top and the bottom. It's a distance, so we're going to subtract. I want to find the difference. To find the distance, I only want half that distance. So I'm going to end up with an amplitude of 6. I want my vertical shift. That's going to be a middle position. To find position, we add coordinates. So 17 plus 5 divided by 2 is going to be 11. Okay, so my middle is 11. I go up 6 to 17. I go down 6 to 5. Okay, that seems very consistent. I want my period. Okay, my period is going to be double that distance, so I'm going to subtract. Okay, if I subtract, I get a length between 2 positions, and I want to double that length. Okay, so I'm going to end up with 4 pi over 3 as my period. I need to have b, so b is going to be 2 pi divided by my period. So I'm going to end up with 3 over 2 as my b value. Okay, this is what's going to end up in my equation. As for the horizontal shift, we're just going to use a cosine, which is easiest, and use the max value. Okay, so the max happens at pi, so I'm going to use a horizontal shift of plus pi, and I'm going to put in brackets here, this is for cosine. So then my equation is my amplitude. I'm going to use cosine. My b value is 3 over 2. My horizontal shift is pi. My vertical shift is 11. Okay, so there's my equation. The next one is exactly the same, apart from the fact that we don't have to worry about pi's anymore. Okay, which means that we have a pi in our b value. So 2 over 3 up, maybe somewhere around here. There's 2, 10, 9, somewhere around here. And those represent 2 quadrants. Okay. I should use cosine and use that as my horizontal shift, but I could use that position there of 6, that's halfway between, as the starting point for sine. So that's not that hard to find if you want to use that. I'm still going to use cosine because it's always easier. Okay, so again, I want to find my amplitude. I look at the y coordinates. I want to subtract the y coordinates. I want half that distance. Okay, so my amplitude is going to be 3. My vertical shift is going to be the average position, so I need to add. Okay, so that's going to be at 6. My period, well, it looks like half my period is going to be 8. And I want to double that. So I get a period of 16. And I'm just going to use the formula 2 pi over 16 as my b value. Okay? Because the nice thing about this is when I write in 2 pi over 16, that 16 represents the period. And then my horizontal shift for cosine is going to be plus 10. So again, there's my equation, amplitude. I'm using cosine again. Okay, because I'm going to start at that position and go like that. Okay, so cosine, the b value now, I'm going to leave it into 2 pi form. There's my period showing up. There's my horizontal shift and my vertical shift.